The heiress in the shadows, a millionaire's secret. They thought I was just a poor orphan. They made me eat scraps from their table. They didn't know that I am the true owner of this luxury estate. While my uncles celebrated stealing my life, I waited in silence. I have a key to a secret that will turn their party into a courtroom. Subscribe to our channel, That Story, so you never miss a new tale. Chapter 1. An Unwanted Guest. The old road was very long, and the autumn rain made everything muddy. I looked out the window of the carriage. I felt afraid and excited at the same time. Through the trees, I saw the towers of Dubrovka. This house belonged to me by birth, but now everything was different. For everyone else, I was Anna, a poor orphan. I was here to work as a junior teacher for only 30 rubles a month. "We are here, miss," the driver said. "Use the back door. The front door is only for masters." I left the carriage with my old bag. It was the only thing I had. The wind was cold, and the rain hit my face. The big stone house looked dark and scary. My uncle, Prince Peter Obolensky, lived here for 15 years. 15 years ago, a fire destroyed my old life, my parents, and my name. Everyone thought that little Princess Anna died in the fire. My uncle took the title and all the money. I knocked at the heavy back door. An old woman, Martha, opened it. She was the housekeeper, and she was not friendly. "The new teacher?" she asked. She looked at my wet dress with disgust. "You look very pale. Come in. The princess does not like to wait." Inside, the house smelled of wax and expensive leather, but for me it smelled of lies. I followed Martha through the long corridors. Every step was painful. I remembered this house from my childhood. Everything was different now, cold and strange. We entered a small room. Princess Yelena, my uncle's wife, sat on a sofa. Her daughter, Katya, sat next to her. Katya wore a very bright pink silk dress. "Mama, look at her!" Katya shouted. "You promised me a teacher from St. Petersburg, but you brought this grey mouse. Her shoes are dirty." The princess looked at me through her glasses. "Be quiet, Catherine. We need someone for your grammar, not for fashion. Girl, what is your name? Anna? Martha says you almost never speak. Is that true?" I bowed low. I decided to act like I was mute. I didn't want them to recognize my voice because I sounded like my mother. This was my protection. "She is quiet, Your Highness," Martha said. "She is a hard worker." "Good," the princess yawned. "Anna, you will teach music and languages to my daughter. Your room is in the attic, near the laundry. You will eat in the kitchen with the servants. And remember, never go to the master's rooms without an invitation." I bowed again. Katya suddenly stood up and walked to me. She was a little older than me, but her eyes were empty and mean. She dropped her silk handkerchief into a dirty puddle on the floor. "Pick it up," she commanded. "Your job is to serve me." I slowly went down on my knees and took the wet cloth. My fingers were shaking, but not from fear. I was angry. She was a thief living in my house, and I was a servant picking up her trash. "Why are you standing there?" Katya laughed. "You're so boring. Go with Martha and clean yourself. See you tomorrow morning. Don't be late." I left the room. I felt their cold eyes on my back. I climbed the stairs to the attic and made a promise to myself. I will find proof of their crime. Every corner of this house had a secret, and I wanted to find them all. My room was very small, with only one window, but from that window I saw something strange. In the garden there was an old building. The fire started there 15 years ago. It was black and empty, but then I saw a small light from a candle in one of the windows. It was impossible. No one lived there. I put my hands on my heart and whispered, "I'm back, Papa. I'm back to take everything back." Chapter 2. Bread and Bitterness. My first morning in Dubrovka started before sunrise. It was so cold in the attic that my fingers could not move easily. I had to be perfect, a silent shadow in a grey dress. In the kitchen, the servants were complaining, and the air smelled of burnt porridge. "Look at her," the cook said. She threw a piece of hard bread on the table. "Eat, you silent girl, and go to the classroom. Katya does not like to wait. If you are late, Marfa will punish you." I ate the dry bread in silence. It was hard to swallow, but I needed strength. In this house, food was a gift, and kindness was a luxury. I walked past the big dining room and saw my uncle, Prince Peter. He sat at the head of the long table. He was older now, with grey hair, but his eyes were still cold and greedy. This was the man who took me in his arms when my mother died, but then sent me to an orphanage and told everyone I was just a servant's child. The classroom was very clean. Katya sat at her desk and looked bored. "Start the lesson," she said. She didn't even look at me. "French grammar is boring. Play the piano for me. I heard you can play." I walked to the piano. It was an old Bluthner my mother used to play. My fingers touched the keys. For a moment, the room smelled like her, like flowers and powder. I began to play a beautiful melody. But suddenly, Katya closed the piano lid fast. She almost hit my fingers. "Too sad," she shouted. "You are as boring as your dress. Why are you silent? The doctor says you are fine. You are just a stubborn girl, right?" I lowered my head and said nothing. Katya took a notebook and threw it at my feet. "Right, translate this text now and do not make mistakes, or I will punish you. My mother says we must be strict with girls like you." All day I suffered. She spilled ink on my papers, made me stand by the window for hours, and laughed at my poverty. But I did not listen to her. I was watching the house. I watched the keys to the library, the time when the prince left his office, and the servants who remembered the old masters. At night, when the house was asleep, I left my room. I walked barefoot through the dark corridor. I knew that at the end of the gallery there was a secret door to a storage room full of old things. My heart was beating fast. The room smelled of dust. I used a small candle to see the old furniture and paintings. I began to search through the mess. Finally, in a corner behind a big cupboard, I saw a gold frame. I cleaned the dust from the painting with my dress. I almost screamed. It was my mother's portrait. She looked beautiful in her pearl necklace. On the back of the painting, I felt something. It was a tiny paper envelope. With shaking hands, I opened it. Inside was a note from my mother.
Peter is looking for the documents. He will do anything. Everything is hidden in the garden building, under the 5th floorboard near the fireplace. God help us. I was shocked. My mother knew about my uncle's plan. The fire was not an accident. Suddenly, I heard heavy footsteps and saw a light under the door. "Who is there?" Prince Peter's voice was loud. "Martha, I told you to lock this door." I turned off my candle and hid behind the cupboard. I pressed the note to my chest. The prince entered the room. I saw his shadow. He looked around the room, then looked exactly at my corner. "I am hearing things," he whispered to himself. "I cannot sleep." When he left, I did not move for a long time. I had my first clue. The garden building, the old, dark place everyone was afraid of. Now I knew where to go. I returned to my room before the sun came up. My hands were dusty and my dress was dirty, but I was happy. Tomorrow, Katya will be mean again, and the prince will be proud, but they do not know that the silent teacher is hunting them. I am not a guest in this house. I am the judge, and their time is finishing.
Chapter 3. A Shadow in the Mirror. The morning was foggy and cold. My eyes were tired because I did not sleep, and I kept thinking about my mother's note, the 5th floorboard near the fireplace. I wanted to go to the garden building immediately, but I had to stay in the house. Katya was very angry today because she did not like the colors of her dress ribbons. She threw a porcelain statue at me and it hit my shoulder. I did not cry. I just cleaned the floor in silence. "You are like a statue, Anna," Katya said while she looked in the mirror. "You have no life in your eyes. Sometimes I think you are just an old painting from the storage room." She was almost right. After the lessons, Princess Elena told me to help Martha with the winter clothes. This was a lucky moment. We went to a part of the house that was empty for years. While the housekeeper was busy, I went into a room with large mirrors. The mirrors were covered with grey cloth. I opened the biggest mirror and saw a ghost. It was a thin, pale girl with bright eyes. Me. I looked exactly like the woman in the portrait. If the prince looked at me closely, he would recognize me. "What are you doing here, girl?" Martha's voice was like a hit. I closed the mirror quickly. The old servant looked at me with suspicion. "Mirrors only bring trouble to this house," she said. "Go back to work." But then Martha grabbed my arm. Her fingers were strong and painful. She looked at my face and her lips began to shake. "The eyes," she whispered. "The same eyes. It is impossible. The fire destroyed everything." I was frozen. Martha remembered. She knew the truth about the fire. But then she pushed me away. Go to the kitchen. Never come to this part of the house again. It is cursed." I ran through the corridors. My secret was in danger because the old servant saw the truth. At dinner, the servants were talking about a guest, young Count Razumovsky. Prince Peter wanted Katya to marry him. But the servants said the Count was very serious and smart. He wanted a wife with a good family and a good mind. I remembered that name from my father. The Count's family were friends with the real Obolenskys. He could be my chance or my end. At night, I went to the garden. I wore a dark coat and moved silently like a shadow. The garden building was scary. The walls were black from the fire 15 years ago. I entered the building, and the air smelled like smoke and dust.
I went to the fireplace. I started to count the floorboards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My heart was beating fast. I used a knife to open the board. Under the floor, I saw a package in old leather. Suddenly, I heard a noise outside. I turned off my candle. Through the walls, I saw a light. It was Stepan, the prince's worker. I saw a shadow here, maybe a thief from the village, he said. I hid under an old table and held the package. Stepan was at the door, but then something heavy fell on the roof of the building. The man was afraid. "Cursed place," he whispered and ran away. I sat in the dark for a long time. In my hands, I had the package that my parents died for. This was my future or my death. Subscribe to our channel, That Story, so you never miss a new tale.
I returned to my small room when the sky was turning grey. The package under my mattress felt like hot coal. I could feel it with every cell of my body. But I had no time to look inside. I heard Marfa's voice and the noise of plates from downstairs. The arrival of Count Razumovsky changed everything in the house. By noon, the house was very clean, and the kitchen smelled of roasted meat and spices. My job was to help in the living room, to fix the curtains and watch the fire in the fireplace. I tried to be invisible. I lowered my head every time the masters walked past me. Count Dmitri Razumovsky arrived with 3 servants and many hunting dogs. He was a tall man with a strong face and very smart, deep eyes. When he entered the room, Katya was very excited. She wore her most expensive necklace to impress him. "Dear Count, we were waiting for you," Prince Peter said with a fake smile. "Dubrovka is yours. My daughter has a musical program for you." I stood near the fireplace with a metal tool. Katya sat at the piano, but her music was bad and full of mistakes. She wanted to be perfect, but she forgot the rhythm. The Count listened politely, but he looked around the room until his eyes stopped on me. I felt his heavy gaze on my skin. "Thank you, Princess," Razumovsky said when she finished. "The piano is beautiful. No, I think your music has no soul. You look afraid of the keys." Katya was angry, and the prince quickly changed the topic. "She is just nervous, Count. By the way, this is our teacher, Anna. The poor girl is mute, but she is very hard-working. She helps Catherine with languages." Razumovsky stood up and walked to the fireplace. I did not look up. I only looked at the fire. "Mute?" he asked quietly. "That is very sad. Tell me, Anna, do you like this music?" I only nodded. I tried to hide that my hands were shaking. "Amazing," the Count said to the prince. "I know this girl's face. Her features, they look like the old portraits in my grandfather's house. Peter, are you sure she is just an orphan?" Prince Peter laughed, but his laugh was fake. "It is just a coincidence, Dmitri. Many people look the same in Russia. Anna is just the daughter of a relative. Do not worry about it." In the evening, when the guests went hunting, I finally looked at the package. My hands were shaking when I opened the old leather. Inside were letters from my father and, most importantly, the real will of my grandfather. I read the lines and my heart almost stopped. My grandfather knew about his younger son's greed. The document said if something happens to my father or his children, the house goes to the state until Anna is 18 years old.
Peter would lose everything because of his bad behavior and debts. This meant Uncle Peter was a bankrupt before the fire. Killing my father was his only way to stay rich. I hid the documents again. I knew I was in danger now. If the prince finds the papers, he will kill me. I needed to give them to someone I could trust. Count Razumovsky. He was a friend of my father, but can I trust him now? The chance came quickly. Princess Yelena told me to bring tea to the count in the library. When I entered, Dmitri was reading a book. He looked at me for a long time. You understand everything I say, Anna, and you were not always mute, right? I was frozen. His eyes were not mean, they were kind and interested. Yesterday I heard you playing the piano in the empty hall. You played a melody that only one woman knew, the late Princess Maria Obolenska. She wrote that music herself. How does a simple teacher know that? I tried to make a sound, but he stopped me with his hand. Do not pretend. I knew Anna when she was a child. She had a small birthmark, like a moon, on her left wrist. You hide it under your lace gloves, and that is suspicious. I pressed my left hand to my chest. He knew the truth. I will not tell anyone, he whispered. But listen, Peter is planning something bad. He wants to take a loan for the house and go to Europe after he marries Katya. If you have any proof, any truth, tell me. Suddenly the door opened, and Prince Peter entered. He looked at me and then at the Count. Anna, are you still here? His voice was dangerously quiet. Go to your room. Do not bother the guest. I bowed and ran out. My heart was beating fast. The Count knows. He recognized me. But is he a friend or an enemy? In the corridor, I met Katya. She was standing in the shadows, and her face was full of hate. I saw how he looked at you, you ugly girl, she hissed, and grabbed my hair. You think you can look at the Count? Tomorrow I will tell my mother to fire you. She already found a new teacher. She pushed me, but I did not feel the pain. I had a plan. If they fire me tomorrow, I must act tonight. At night, I will go to the Count's room and leave one of my father's letters there. It is my only chance to see if he is a real friend. I went to bed, but I did not turn off my candle. The wind was loud in the garden, and the old building was waiting for me. In that place of fire and lies, I was finding my freedom, or my end.
Chapter 5. A Discovery at Night. Deciding to trust Count Razumovsky was like jumping into a cold abyss. All day I felt like I had a fever. Prince Peter did not ignore me anymore. He watched me like a predator. Katya told her mother lies about my bad behavior. Tonight, pack your things, Princess Yelena said coldly. You will leave this house tomorrow. We don't want a girl who flirts with our guests. I only bowed. I had only one night left to change everything. When the house was dark, I took the package from my hiding place. I chose the most important letter from my father. In it, he wrote that he was afraid of his brother Peter and worried about our lives. This was proof of their old conflict. I moved silently to the guest wing where the Count lived. I used a secret door in the library that my mother used once. The Count was sitting at his desk with a map and some debt documents. When he saw me, he relaxed. Anna, you are in danger. The prince has more guards now. I put my father's letter on his desk. Dmitri read it and his face changed. He was very angry at the prince. My God, your father knew everything.
But one letter is not enough for the court. We need the will. Suddenly we heard a loud noise downstairs. Someone broke a window. "Look for her! She stole the papers!" Prince Peter shouted. "The girl is a thief! Search her room!" They found the empty hiding place in the garden building. The Count quickly hid me behind a big bookshelf. Prince Peter ran into the library. He looked very angry. "Count, the mute teacher robbed my safe and ran away. Have you seen her?" Dmitri was calm. He hid my father's letter in his pocket. "A thief? That's strange. She seemed like a very quiet and good girl. I was here all evening, and no one entered." "She was in the garden building," Prince Peter shouted. "We will find her and send her to prison." When they left, Dmitri let me out. "We have very little time, Anna. Tomorrow is the masked ball. Peter wants to announce Katya's marriage and take my money to pay his debts, but tomorrow will be his end." He looked into my eyes. "You must come to the ball, not as a teacher, but as the owner of this house. Do you have your mother's dress?" I nodded. I found a beautiful blue velvet dress in the old storage room. "Wear it and a mask," Dmitri said. "At midnight I will take you to the center of the room. We will have the will and a witness. I will talk to old Marfa. She is afraid of God." I was not afraid any more. I had a friend, and I had hope. "Go to your room through the secret door," Dmitri ordered. "Pack your things. My men will help you tonight, and tomorrow everyone will remember the real owner of Dubrovka." I went back into the dark corridor. For the first time in 15 years, I felt at peace. Tomorrow the masks will fall. Tomorrow the thief will pay for his crime. And tomorrow I will finally say my real name out loud.
Chapter 6. The Masquerade Ball. The atmosphere in Dubrovka was very tense. The servants were busy cleaning the floors and cooking delicious food. The house smelled of expensive perfume and candles. Prince Peter was happy. He thought the mute thief was gone forever in the cold forest. Marfa, the housekeeper, helped me secretly. She took me to a dark room and showed me my mother's dress. It was beautiful blue velvet with silver thread. Martha also gave me a mask with blue feathers to hide my face. "Forgive me, child," the old woman whispered. I was silent for a long time, but Count Dmitri told me the truth. I will tell everyone what happened 15 years ago. In the evening, the house was full of lights and guests. People wore masks and beautiful costumes. I entered the house through a secret gallery. I wore a long black coat over my blue dress. My heart was beating very fast. I saw Katya in a pink dress talking to Count Razumovsky. Dmitri was looking for me in the crowd. Prince Peter stood in the center of the room with a glass of champagne. "Ladies and gentlemen," the prince shouted. The music stopped. "Today is a great day. I want to announce a marriage and the future of our family." It was time. I dropped my black coat. My blue dress was bright under the candles. I slowly walked down the big marble stairs. Everyone was silent. "Who is she?" people whispered. "Look at her dress. She looks like a queen." Prince Peter stopped talking. He was shocked. He didn't see a woman in a mask. He saw a ghost from the past. The dress was famous. Everyone remembered it. I stopped in front of the prince. Dmitri Razumovsky walked to me and took my hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," the Count said loudly, "I want to introduce the real owner of this house, Princess Anna Obolenskaya."
The guests were shocked. Katya fainted, and the Princess Elena cried. "This is a lie," Peter shouted. "My niece died in the fire. This girl is a thief." "The fire was big, but God saved the child," old Martha said. She walked forward. "I took her from the bed when you, Prince, started the fire. You told me to send her to an orphanage. I am sorry, Anna." I slowly took off my mask. My face was proud. I was not mute anymore. My voice was clear and loud. "I waited 15 years for this day, Uncle. You stole my childhood and killed my parents, but you cannot kill the truth. This house is not yours. You must leave now." Prince Peter tried to attack me, but Dmitri stopped him. Then the police entered the room. "Prince Peter, you are under arrest for murder and theft," the officer said. The police took the prince away. Katya and Elena were alone in the corner. No one wanted to talk to them. I stood in the center of the room. I felt free. Dmitri took my hand. "You did it, Anna," he whispered. "Justice is here." We walked to the balcony. The sun was coming up over the garden. The old building was still there, but the pain was in the past. I was Anna Obolenskaya, and I was finally home.
Chapter 7. The Dawn of Justice. When the first rays of the cold November sun touched the house, the drama was over. The guests left quickly. Everyone was talking about the big scandal. The police carriage took Uncle Peter away, and soon it disappeared in the distance. I stood in the big living room. Before, Katya was always shouting here. Now it was empty. Princess Elena and her daughter had to leave the house before noon. I watched them get into a simple carriage. They had no servants and no power anymore. They were not sorry, they were only angry because they lost, but I did not feel sad for them. Justice means that everything returns to its correct place. "Anna Nikolaevna," Marfa's quiet voice said. The old housekeeper stood at the door. She looked sad but also happy because her secret was gone. "Your father's office, your office is ready," she said. "Count Razumovsky fixed all the papers, and the people from the village are waiting. They want to see the real princess." I nodded. I was crying, but these were happy tears. For 15 years I was a mute orphan. Now I had to help hundreds of people who suffered because of my uncle's greed. I went to my father's office. Dmitri was there, looking out the window. He turned and gave me a warm, kind smile. "The police checked all the documents, Anna." He gave me my grandfather's will. "You are officially the owner of Dubrovka and all the Obolensky money. Martha's story and your father's letters proved everything. Peter has no chance." I took the paper. It felt more valuable than gold. "Thank you, Dmitri." My voice sounded strange to me. "If you didn't help me, I would still be a shadow in the attic." "You saved yourself." He walked to me and took my hands. "Your courage and your patience gave us this victory. I only helped the truth have a voice." That day I opened the doors of the old garden building. Workers began to clean the place. I decided not to destroy it. I wanted to build a small chapel there for my parents and plant flowers, the violets that my mother loved. A place of pain became a place of memory. In the evening, Dmitri and I walked in the park. The air was clear and cold. We talked about the future and how to fix the estate. "Will you stay here, Anna?" Dmitri asked.
In St. Petersburg, everyone wants to meet the rich Princess Obolenskaya. You can be famous there. I looked at the stars in the water of the pond. In St. Petersburg, people wear masks, Dmitri. I lived with a mask for too long. This is my land. This is my home. I want Dubrovka to be a home again, not a cage. But I am afraid to do this alone. Dmitri touched my face gently. You are not alone. My land is next to yours. I want our forests to have no borders, and our hearts too. He went down on one knee. In that moment, time stopped. There was no teacher honor and no more pain. There was only love. Princess Anna, will you marry me? I did not speak. I just gave him my hand. When he kissed my fingers, I knew my journey was over. I had my name, my home, and the right to be happy. Many years passed. Children's laughter was heard in the house again. My mother's portrait was not in the storage room anymore. It was in the living room. Every time I saw it, I smiled. We won. My story became a legend. People talked about the mute teacher who was a princess. But for me, it was a lesson. Every time in the darkest time, you can find the light if you have faith and the truth. Justice was done, and the sun rose over my life. It will never go down again. The end. That is the end of our story. Dear listeners, if this tale touched your heart and reminded you of something important in your own life, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to our channel, That Story, so you never miss a new tale. Thank you for listening, and see you soon.